Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hello everybody, it's Jeff. Glad you're all here. Hope you're having a good day. Tomorrow, as you know, is New Year's Eve. So we're about to hit January 1st here. So I'm hoping that it's the beginning of something new for this country here. Some kind of a wave of change from where we've been here all year, and it's really been very annoying to a great many Americans out there how we have turned out at the end of this year. We never thought it would be like this, but here we are. So we're all hoping we can undo that. So anyway, I've been getting slammed here by a bunch of people on various platforms here asking me what I thought about what's going on in Minnesota with Tim Walz, and they sent me a link to an article today from Newsweek, and so I figured, well, I'll just read this for those of you who haven't read it, and I will comment on it. So let's go to that here from Newsweek, entitled "Tim Walz Chances of Re-Election in 2026 Amid Minnesota Fraud Backlash." Governor Walz, a Democrat, is set to face voters next November as he deals with the fallout of allegations of fraud in federal programs in the state. A spokesperson for the Minnesota Republican Party told Newsweek the fraud scandal will, quote-unquote, absolutely be a factor in the election. Quote, on whether this will push voters toward Republicans, absolutely. Fraud isn't an abstract issue. It's about schools, public safety, and services that Minnesotans expect their tax dollars to support. Voters are increasingly open to Republican leadership because they want accountability, transparency, and a government that actually works for them, unquote. Minnesota GOP Director of Communications Noah Ruin wrote. Allegations of fraud received renewed attention after a viral video posted by influencer Nick Shirley highlighted alleged examples of fraud at several daycares in the Minneapolis area. The video drew a strong reaction from Minnesota Republicans. And just to point out here, Nick Shirley is a conservative, okay? Just to say, this wasn't some independent thing here. The focus on Minnesota comes after federal prosecutors have said more than 60 people have been convicted for fraud in the state so far, while more than 90 have been charged. Estimates of the cost to taxpayers have ranged from $250 million to $1 billion, while investigations by state and federal officials remain ongoing, with concerns raised that the overall fraud could be even larger. Earlier in December, one federal prosecutor said that $9 billion or more in federal funds allocated to 14 state-run programs since 2018 may have been stolen. Democratic Governor Tim Walz and other officials have disputed that amount, but acknowledged the scale of the issue and their determination to solve it. Many of the defendants are of East African descent and believed to be part of Minnesota's Somali immigrant community, the largest in the United States. The fraud allegations have become a political firestorm for Walz in Minnesota as Republicans are seeking to make it a major campaign issue. They have argued that the Walz administration did not do enough to prevent the alleged fraud from occurring. But Walz's office previously told Newsweek he has, quote, worked for years to crack down on fraud and asked the state legislature for more authority to take aggressive action, unquote. So far, only one poll of the race has been made public before the scandal became such a salient issue. The KSTP TV Survey USA poll gave Walz an advantage over 4 potential Republican rivals. He led State Senator Scott Jensen by 5 points. State Representative Christian Robbie by 7 points. Phil Parrish by 11 points. And former gubernatorial candidate Kendall Walz by 13 points. It surveyed 568 voters from September 15th through the 18th this year, and had a credibility interval of plus or minus 4.8 percentage points. Okay, hold on a second here. Walz was already facing a basic structural problem, unquote, which is that he was running for a 3rd term in an era where governors have rarely won 3rd terms, David Schultz, professor of political science at Hamline University, told Newsweek. He said he viewed Walz as a, quote, clear star, unquote, of the Democrat Party following the 2022 and 23 legislative session, but that assessment has, quote, changed dramatically, unquote, as the fraud issue has become, quote, central to how his record and legacy are now being evaluated. Quote, at this point, Walz is clearly the underdog and faces significant obstacles to re-election. It is possible that 2026 could bring a national blue wave, but Minnesota itself could still turn red. Some Democrats privately worry that openly criticizing Walz would only strengthen Republicans' attacks. Yeah, okay, look. I like Tim Walz, okay? I can't see how people can just point all the finger of blame on the governor for this, okay? Yeah, I know, you're probably thinking, oh, okay, here we go. No, he doesn't personally benefit from this fraud, okay? Until evidence comes out that show that the money that was stolen, he got from these people, okay? He's just the guy who hires out people to watchdog for this kind of shit, fraud, okay? And obviously they missed this, okay? And despite how big the scope of this is, which Walz's administration saying isn't as big as everybody's making it out to be, it's still an oversight. They still didn't catch it, okay? Well, nobody catches everything. Everybody makes mistakes. Even the FBI can't catch everybody that does wrong, all right? I mean, even the CIA can't catch everybody that does wrong, okay? People are putting, this, you're either 100% effective or we just won't support you. Well, nothing is 100%. Nothing is 100%, okay? To expect that, when you pick people to do a job that they will always get their man is ridiculous. All right? So, yeah. This looks bad for Tim Walz because he picked the people that do the job of looking for fraud or making sure it doesn't happen. They missed this, and it really stinks that they did. Okay, if anyone's to blame here, it's not Walz because he obviously had people working to do this sort of thing. It's the people he picked to do this job. They missed it. Okay, they missed it. But now that they know that of its existence, they've been prosecuting all kinds of people, apparently for months now, and they got a whole bunch of them, convicted. So there's still more out there that they got to find, okay? But the thing of it is the problem that's eating everybody up is, can we get this money back? Well, probably not. Probably not. And that's the thing that sticks in everybody's craw, is that these people have stolen millions and millions of fucking dollars, and chances of getting all that back are nothing. All we can do is prosecute the people who stole that money and put them in jail, put them in prison, okay? That's all we can do. There's no way to know where that money went, you know, who got it, okay? That would make the investigation lengthy in order to go that far to find out who profited from this fraud, okay? But to go after Tim Walz, who has been governor of that state for such a long time, and then this happens. You know, people liked him in Minnesota. He'd done a good job with everything else, but this one thing snuck under their radar, and you know, it took some young fellow there with a goddamn camera phone to point out, oh, this doesn't look right, this doesn't look right, you know, and all of a sudden now you got a huge scandal. Okay, well, that kid got lucky and found it, and you know, it got the attention of the right wing, which probably sent a whole bunch of people looking into this, and all of a sudden that whole can of worms opened up. Well, yeah, it's shitty that the governor's people didn't catch this as they should have, but like I said, they're not going to see everything. They can't. I mean, there has to be suspicion for one thing to even look in the direction, okay? They don't have kids on the ground with camera phones looking around for things like that. Maybe they should. Maybe they should have people, you know, with their camera phones going around door to door checking out to make sure a business looks like it's legit. Because clearly the people that are hired by your governor, your president, all these people, they can't catch all this shit when it happens. All right? So maybe we need to rethink what a watchdog group is. You know, maybe they should make this something that we're all involved in so we can all, you know, catch this fraud before it happens. You know? I don't know what the answer is, but bitching at the governor for it is certainly not the answer. Okay? Tim Walz did not set up this fucking fraud, okay? And he did not benefit from it 1 cent. Okay? His state is the people got ripped off from it, okay? He didn't get that money. But like I said, you know, I mean, I don't know what people were expecting me to say about it. Okay, maybe they thought, you know, I'd end up with egg on my face here talking about it because I like the guy. But like I said, you know, how can you really blame him 100% for this? I mean, he hired the people and the people failed in doing their job to find fraud when it's out there. I mean, Christ, like I said, maybe they don't have enough people to watch what's going on, you know? But, you know, whenever you talk about hiring more people, people say, oh, no, that's going to be more tax. You know, so, you know, what are you going to do? What the fuck are you going to do? You know, like I said, that's why I was saying maybe it shouldn't be on all of us to look and spot fraud when we see it, instead of waiting for the government to go and seek and find it. By then, billions of dollars are gone. So maybe people should be out there doing what this guy did to bring attention to it. You know, if they'd have found out about that sooner, they could have saved the state a whole bunch of money. You know, but like I said, if we get people out there, drones is like sending the drones out to go around filming everything. You never know. Something, you know, you might find fraud where you never expected it. You know, and now this makes the Somali people look bad in that state, because most of the people that were heavily involved in it were Somali, you know, and now this is only going to play right into Donald Trump's cards of racism, okay? And I see that this is not going to end well for Walz or for the Somali people in Minnesota or anywhere else in this country. I mean, they're going to be targeted heavily now by Trump, and guess what? Everybody's going to go, ooh, because of what happened in Minnesota. Okay, you see what I'm saying? The extreme right will use this one incident in Minnesota to justify rounding up more people by ICE and exporting them to prison camps. Okay, that's what they're going to do to this, and people won't be saying as much about it because of, you know, the anger that in Minnesota over how much money was stolen. You know, so that's the bad part about all this, is that because of a small group of people who did not find fraud where they should have found it, like everybody's expecting you're going to know where it is when you look, okay, because they didn't find it, okay, now there can be justified racism now. We can be racist now to Somali people because of that. We have a reason to be like that. It's like, oh really? Okay. So you're going to blame everybody that's Somali for being crooks. You know, just like everybody used to they blame all black people for being criminals. Now we're going, you know, come on. Trump's going to ride this motherfucking wave next year. Okay, I know he is. So anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say about it, except, you know, maybe, you know, Republicans are going to try too hard to earn brownie points over this mess, and it's going to be painfully obvious what they're doing by, you know, by spring. You know, whether or not this remains a headline thing next year, I don't know. It depends on Trump. I mean, Trump is pretty good at every week doing something that irritates the shit out of the American people. So by summer next year, we may not even think about this fucking story anymore. It'll be something new, something worse, I mean, from Trump. And, you know, everything that just happened in Minnesota will kind of disappear, you know, from people's thoughts, and it'll be the other thing. And Walz will look a lot sweeter. Okay, so if anything, Republicans need to tell Trump to dial it back considerably between now and the midterms, and not do anything to upset this big thing here in Minnesota, because we need to use that as our fucking anchor here to get, you know, votes our way. And but Trump, you know he's not going to shut his mouth. He just can't help it, you know. I mean, look, what was it, last night? Some drones from Kyiv attacked Russia, one of Russia's, Putin's places, I guess. I don't know. When Putin was pissed off and claimed he talked to Trump, and Trump heard him, and all this right after I had done that video about them doing the peace talks. I'm telling you, that fucking thing ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen, okay? Because nobody right now in this fight over there is interested in talking about a ceasefire or even peace. And if you think Putin is a peace man, forget it. Ain't gonna happen. Trump's trying to earn that medal that he fucking got there from that crazy group of people there, to try and justify him getting the actual real Nobel Peace Prize. But it's not gonna work. Not under his administration. Okay? And if I was Zelensky, I'd say fuck it. I'm not gonna allow peace while he's the president. I'll wait till the next one gets in there, and then, you know, because after what he did to him publicly this year, and that's still being played all around the world, and how that's changed attitudes about this country in Germany and Japan and other countries, okay, yeah, I'd say fuck Trump, okay? I'm not going to listen or agree to anything he says. We're just going to keep this fight going for the next 3 years until he's gone. And then I'll come honestly to the table to talk peace. But I'm not going to do it so he gets credit. So he can go around and say, see, it was me that stopped this thing. Okay, no. You know, I would say fuck it. I'll just continue this fight and then wait and let him run out the clock. That's what I'd do, just to get back at him for that. And since we're talking about fraud Minnesota here, here's another story pops up while I was reading the one that I just read. And this is from Como News, K-O-M-O News, entitled, Minnesota Judge Slammed for Overturning Conviction of Pair Involved in Medicaid Fraud. I wonder if they're going to blame Walz for this, too. A judge in Minnesota is currently facing backlash for overturning a conviction of over $7 million of a couple who were found guilty of misusing Medicaid funds to fund a rich lifestyle. Abdifata Yusuf, sorry, I am only pronouncing it the way it's spelled. It may not even be how it's said. Abdifata Yusuf, who's 44 years old, was charged last year, 2024, and found guilty in August this year, 2025, after he and his wife faced allegations of stealing millions of dollars from the Medicaid program in Minnesota. While Yusuf and his wife were stealing from the program, they were also operating a healthcare business from their house. While Yusuf operated Promise, quote, this is in quotes, I'm sorry, quote, while Yusuf operated Promise, the agency stole over $7 million, unquote, the Attorney General's office said in a press release. It says in full here, quote, MFCU investigators determined that Yusuf frequently used the money stolen from the Medicaid program to fund a lavish lifestyle for himself and his family, including directing over $1 million from the Promise business account into Yusuf's personal account and withdrawing over $387,000 in cash, unquote. Judge Sarah West overturned Yusuf's conviction last month, according to local media. Jurors who were chosen for the case were shocked by that decision. Jury four-person Ben Walfort told KARE 11 News that he was shocked. Quote, I'm shocked based off of all of the evidence that was presented to us and the obvious guilt that we saw based off of this said evidence, unquote. Yusuf's attorney told KARE 11 News that his client was innocent and the overturning of the conviction shows that. Okay, well, quote, the court's decision to enter judgments of acquittal on all charges reflects the fundamental principle that justice requires both fairness and proof, unquote, he said in a statement to the outlet. Quote, we appreciate the court's careful attention to the evidence and the law, unquote. Any details on that? Why the judge felt he could overturn that? You know, in a just system, the judge should be required to make any call like that before, you know, allowing a jury to deliberate, right? You know, if the case was legally deficient, then dismiss it and thank the jury. Otherwise, respect the jury process and accept the verdict. I mean, that why go through that? What the hell? I mean, this attorney sitting here saying, well, you know, this was done correctly. The judge did the right thing. But he doesn't say why the judge did this. He doesn't give us any fucking why. Give me some detail. What the hell was the judge thinking? What rule was he going by to overturn this fucking conviction? See, this leaves everybody thinking the justice system is fucked up because there's no explanation given. Okay? There's no reason. You got to educate as well as inform. You got to let people know. Well, he went by this law and yada, 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 okay? And under this precedent, yada, 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 okay? If you don't tell people the details, they're just going to walk away thinking, oh, the whole system's fucked. Because nobody understands. Even the fucking juror, the four-person juror said, I can't believe he did that. After all the evidence we heard, he overturns this conviction? It makes the judge look bad. Like, you know, what's he doing? Is he getting, you know, his bread buttered or what? I mean, what the hell's going on? I just, you know, that's what I mean about these things when they happen, is that at first they never really give you any detail. They just make a statement, a generalized statement with no details, and they pass that off to the public, and the public chews on it, and they're not really getting anything out of it. You know, there's no detail given. And I don't know if if they will ever come out or the judge will come out and say why he overturned it. I mean, judges don't have to explain themselves, I guess. But in this case, I think they do, especially when you're talking about, you know, all this money stolen out of Medicare, or Medicaid rather. I'm sorry. I mean, I think, you know, this is something that people need to understand, okay, in order to say, oh, well, okay, now I get it. That's why the judge did it. But otherwise, when you have a jury that sits there and convicts somebody on the evidence, and then the judge turns around and basically, forget what they said, you're innocent. You know, these cases should not be decided by a judge unless, you know, it's a case heard and not in front of a jury. But, you know, it shouldn't be done like that. I think that's not fair. I don't think that's fair. If they want to appeal the verdict, they can go ahead and do it that way. But for a judge to step in between that process and say, no, I'm overturning it, okay, it makes the judge look corrupt because we're not knowing why he did it. And people walk away with this bad taste in their mouth that the justice system just doesn't work, you know, that people can defraud millions from, you know, from the government and they can just walk away, you know. So how does that happen? You know, how does that happen? That's what we want to know. Why did this happen? You know, I don't want to know that the judge just overturned it. I want to know why he overturned it. You know, and I think a lot of people in Minnesota deserve that answer. Okay, and this story here from ABC News here, written by David Brennan, titled, Trump warns Iran not to rebuild nuclear program, says it will be horrible for Hamas if it fails to disarm. President Trump, meeting with Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu on Monday at Mar-a-Lagos, issued stark warnings to both Iran and Hamas. Trump said Hamas must disarm for the next phase of the Gaza peace plan to begin. If they don't, Trump said it would be, quote, horrible for them, unquote, and there would be, quote, hell to pay, unquote. Sounds like something you'd hear in a movie, you know, what a crazy president. Okay, the president added that other countries that wanted to ceasefire deal to be made, quote, will go and wipe them out, unquote, should Hamas not disarm. Trump said Hamas would be, quote, given a very short period of time, unquote, to give up its weapons, something Israel says is not close to happening. On Iran, Trump threatened to, quote, knock the hell, unquote, out of them if Tehran tried to rearm itself. Quote, now I hear that Iran is trying to build up again, and if they are, we're going to have to knock them down. We'll knock them down. We'll knock the hell out of them, unquote, the president said. Sounds like a 2-year-old. Quote, but hopefully that's not happening, unquote, he continued. Quote, I heard Iran wants to make a deal. If they want to make a deal, that's much smarter. You know, they could have made a deal the last time before we went through, you know, a big attack on them. And they didn't. They decided not to make a deal. They wish they made that deal. So I think, again, they should make a deal. How many times did he say the word deal in that? Earlier this year, the U.S. attacked 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities using bunker-busting bombs and cruise missiles. Trump claimed that the U.S., quote, obliterated, unquote, Iran's nuclear facilities, yet it's unclear just how far back their nuclear program was actually set back. Trump on Monday also said he would support an Israel attack on Iran if Iran continues with their ballistic missile and nuclear weapon program. Quote, the missiles, yes. The nuclear, fast, okay. One will be, yes, absolutely. The other was, we'll do it immediately, unquote. Trump, that was totally confusing. What the fuck you said? Only he could say something like that and people would say, oh, okay, we get it, you know. Asked if he would support an overthrow of the Iranian regime, Trump said he was not going to discuss it. Quote, I'm not going to talk about overthrow of a regime. They've got a lot of problems they're in. They have tremendous inflation. Their economy is bust. Their economy is no good, and I know that people aren't so happy. Unquote. Funny how he can recognize that in that country, but in this country, he thinks everything's fine. We're going through the same fucking thing. But yet, he's saying it's bad over there, but it's good here. Okay. President Trump's comments come after Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said that Tehran is in a quote-unquote full-scale war with the U.S., Israel, and Europe, describing the country's diplomatic situation as, quote, complicated and difficult, unquote. Quote, in my opinion, we are in a full-scale war with America, Israel, and Europe. They do not want our country to stand on its feet, unquote, Pezeshkian said in a lengthy interview posted to the official website of Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei on Saturday. Quote, "This war is worse than the war in Iraq with us. If one understands well, this war is much more complicated and difficult," unquote, Pezeshkian added, referring to the 1980 to 1988 Iran-Iraq war. Pezeshkian said that despite sanctions and foreign pressure, Iran remains steadfast and capable of defending its national interests. Yeah, and let's not forget they're allied with Russia. Okay, Trump is good at talking big. Okay, about things like this, and the funny thing is he's got a very bad record of backing up or at least succeeding in what he does. You know, and saying what he's going to do. You know, him making, you know, threats to Iran. Iran's not really quaking in their boots when he's talking to them. They understand what Trump is. They know he's going to be a loudmouth about it, and it's not going to faze them in one bit. I mean, look, we're talking about Iran here, the Middle East. Okay, what have we ever done over there that's ever amounted to anything for us? Okay, nothing we try to do over there works, no matter who the president was. Okay, it always blows back on us later in terrorist acts and stuff like that. So, you know, Trump threatening a war with Iran, in that regard, is only going to turn around and hurt us worse. Okay, because these people don't quit. You know, you open up that can of worms, and not only are we going to suffer, but so is Israel. They're going to launch everything they got it. I mean, they're right there. So Israel should not be looking for our leader or our dictator, you know, shaking the sword in front of them. Okay, because these people here have done a whole lot of damage to Hamas, and Hamas is just itching for a fight with Israel. And right now, there's very little Trump is able going to say to them that's going to prevent them from doing it. I mean, if Trump wants a war, Iran will give it to him. You know, that's exactly what will happen. Okay, because these people are fucking pissed, and not only that, but right now Iran, you know, is having its own economic troubles, like Trump pointed out here. You know, they got these things, and when I saw another story about that, how the people in Iran are really pissed off at, you know, Pezeshkian, or whatever the hell you say, really hate him because he's done nothing for them. You know, economically, their economy's falling into the tank here, and he seems to be talking more about wars than talking about ways to save the economy. So the people over there are really pissed off. All right, so you know, maybe a war is something they hope they can have. Because, you know, in war, that's when you get profiteering. That's when you get people taken from the government and stuff like. That's when these things happen, you know, just like they happened in Ukraine. And Zelensky, you know, remember, I mean, he had people that were stealing money while this war was being fought there. And so, I mean, it's just the same old, basically. And you know, if you think Trump won't take advantage of that, you're wrong too, because, you know, hey, you're talking about a criminal, a thief, no less, and a rapist, and then this guy would absolutely try to benefit from, you know, a sustained war in the Middle East financially if he can do it. He would try to do that. So you want to talk about fraud, okay, and stuff like that. Trump is the leader when it comes to that, because he's got a whole record that stretches back decades of him stealing from the government. And yet we, the Republicans, put him in the White House. But yet they want to take out Governor Tim Walz, who did not start any fucking fraud, but they found it. Okay, maybe too late, but they did find it. Okay, and now all of a sudden the Republicans can't stand it. That, oh, we got a, you know, governor that's under his, you know, governorship, you know, massive fraud took place. Oh, now, well, you see, now your credibility shot, because you're okaying it for Trump, who is your president, and he's been fucking you in the ass all year long. Okay, with Doge and everything else, but oh, Tim Walz, okay, we're going after him. You know, I mean, come on. I mean, it's more political footsie. I'm sick of that. And and people always try to drag me into that fucking game, and I'm tired of it. Because, what one side does is wrong, the other side can do, and it's not wrong. And that's the way it's always been with the Republican Party and anyone that's on the right, okay? So, anyway, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This
is me.
me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Folks, I just took another cognitive test. Another one. They keep giving them to me because I do so well. At this point, I'm basically bullying the test. Very unfair to the test. But I take it anyway because I'm very brave and also extremely smart. And let me tell you, I aced it. Perfect score. Again, they said, sir, we don't usually give numbers. And I said, then make one up, a big one. And they did. Tremendous score. Possibly the highest score ever achieved by a human who was seated at the time. Now this test, very complicated, very complicated. They start easy, trying to trick you. They say things like, sir, can you recognize this picture? And I said, of course I can, that's a person, and a beautiful one. Then they show me an animal. I said, that's a dog. Boom. They said, sure, that can be a dog. Genius. Some people struggle with that, I didn't. Then it gets harder. They say, repeat these words. Very crazy words, words nobody's ever heard of. I remembered them all. I didn't even write them down. I remembered them emotionally, which is actually harder. They also had shapes, folks, triangles, squares, a circle type thing, and I nailed it. I said, that's a shape. The doctor said correct, and I could tell he was shaken. He said, sir, you're processing this at a very high level. I can even say the alphabet backwards. It's very complicated. The letters are in different places, and it's much shorter, but I aced it. The doctor said, I'm in a class by myself. And he's a doctor, so you know I'm smart. At one point, they asked me what day it was. I said, the best day. They accepted it because it was the best day. That's intelligence, remedial intelligence. And then this is the hardest part. They asked me to draw a clock. Very unfair to people who don't respect time, but I drew it perfectly. The roundest circle you've ever seen. Numbers everywhere, maybe not in order, but that's called innovation. The hands, beautiful, very confident hands. Hands that grab women. That's what I call Trump time. The doctors told me, sir, your brain is tremendous, very powerful, very stable. One of them said, frankly, we're learning from you. And I said, I know. So for all the people out there saying he's not smart, wrong. I took the test, I passed the test, I destroyed the test. The test is in recovery right now. I've never felt sharper. never felt smarter, possibly smarter than ever before in history. And I'll keep taking these tests happily until the tests themselves say, sir, please stop. We can't handle this level of brilliance anymore. So in conclusion, test stupid, Trump smart, everyone loves me. Do it, or else I'll kick your butt.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome to the show. So there is something that I want Democrats to do, and I need all of your help in getting this message to your members of Congress. So consider this to be like a Dear Dems video letter, because most of them, if we're being honest, just truly suck at messaging, and they suck at fighting fire with fire. So here's the deal. Here's why what I'm proposing is necessary. As you guys all probably know, Trump has used government resources and our tax dollars to slam Democrats for the shutdown. He tried to get all U.S. airports during the shutdown to air a video from Kristi Noem. He wanted it on their monitors in the airports, blaming Democrats for the shutdown and for the travel delays. So I don't know if you guys heard about that. Luckily, most airports refused, especially a bunch of the bigger ones. But Trump and his minions have done something else throughout the past 10 plus months of his presidency. He's cut funding. And it's not, just affecting blue states, although it is primarily affecting blue states because they didn't vote for him last year, so he wanted to punish them. But it is also affecting Republican districts. As you can see here in this graphic, way lopsided. I mean, over $27 billion in grants cut to blue states, and then almost, $750 million cut in red states. And keep in mind, this graphic I'm showing you, this was from about 2 months ago. So that figure is very likely even higher. So these numbers are now much bigger at this point. And this is causing real harm, even and especially in Republican-led districts and states. Manufacturing plants and other projects that would have brought jobs to these areas have been scrapped. So what I'm proposing, and what I just don't understand why Democrats aren't doing, is why are they not using funding to erect huge billboards or other types of signs saying things like, this project will not be completed because of the Republican passed budget bill. Or, like this project has been canceled due to Trump administration funding cuts. Why are Democrats not using the same tactics and letting Americans know you're not getting a new job because of Trump, because of the Republican Party? Why are they not using also every opportunity on air, and during town hall events to highlight how Trump and his cult members in Congress have completely screwed Americans out of the chance to feed their families? Because even in the bluest of states, like California, New York, there are many Trump voters, right? But as I said, this has affected red states and red areas as well. And you have Democrats there. You have always in some, in every state, you have Democratic representatives. And even if you don't, the DNC, I'm sure, can, dig up some money out of their coffers and pay for these signs. Why are they not highlighting this? So like I said, reach out to your representatives, send them a link to this video if you want, or if you just want to, tell them yourself, go ahead and do that. But this should be across the country. This should be done. Let people know. Just like Donald Trump puts his name on checks to tell people, hey, I'm sending you this money, it's coming from me, and take the credit, he also needs to get the blame. So anyway, guys, just an idea, but I think it would help. All right. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like this video. Please share it with everyone, including your representatives. Please donate if you possibly can to keep the show going, and subscribe if you have not. Just click the button below. It is totally free to become a subscriber. It really, really helps the show out here on YouTube. So greatly appreciate all of you. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. All right. I thought this would be an interesting thing for me to read, because there's going to be some SNAP bans in 5 states on Thursday. So for those of you who didn't know about that, maybe, hopefully this will get to you so you'll know about it. So this is from CNN, entitled, "SNAP bans on soda, candy, and other foods take effect in 5 states on January 1st. Starting Thursday, Americans in 5 states who get government help paying for groceries will see new restrictions on soda, candy, and other foods they can buy with those benefits. Indiana, Iowa, Nebraska, Utah, and West Virginia are the first of at least 18 states to enact waivers prohibiting the purchase of certain foods through the SNAP program. It's part of a push by Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins to urge states to strip foods regarded as unhealthy from the $100 billion federal program, long known as food stamps, that serves 42 million Americans. Quote, "We cannot continue a system that forces taxpayers to fund programs that make people sick and then pay a second time to treat the illness those very programs help create," unquote, Kennedy said in a statement in December. The efforts are aimed at reducing chronic diseases such as obesity and diabetes associated with sweetened drinks and other treats, a key goal of Kennedy's Make America Healthy Again effort. But retail industry and health policy experts said that state SNAP programs already under pressure from steep budget cuts are unprepared for the complex changes, with no complete lists of the foods affected and technical point-of-sale challenges that vary by state and store. And research remains mixed about whether restricting SNAP purchases improves diet quality and health at all. The National Retail Federation, a trade association, predicted longer checkout lines and more customer complaints as SNAP recipients learn which foods are affected by the new waivers. It's a disaster waiting to happen, of people trying to buy food and being rejected, said Kate Bauer, a nutrition science expert at the University of Michigan. A report by the National Groceries Association and other industry trade groups estimated that implementing SNAP restrictions would cost U.S. retailers $1.6 billion initially and $759 million each year going forward. Quote, punishing SNAP recipients means we all get to pay more at the grocery store, unquote, said Gina Plato-Nino, SNAP director for the anti-hunger advocacy group Food Research and Action Center. The waivers are a departure from decades of federal policy first enacted in 1964 and later authorized by the Food and Nutrition Act of 2008, which said SNAP benefits can be used for, quote, any food or food product intended for human consumption, unquote, except alcohol and ready-to-eat hot foods. The law also says SNAP can't pay for tobacco. In the past, lawmakers have proposed stopping SNAP from paying for expensive meats like steak or so-called junk food such as chips and ice cream. But previous waiver requests were denied based on USDA research concluding that restrictions would be costly and complicated to implement and that they might not change recipients' buying habits or reduce health problems such as obesity. Under the second Trump administration, however, states have been encouraged and even incentivized to seek waivers, and they responded. Quote, this isn't the usual top-down, one-size-fits-all public health agenda, unquote, Indiana Governor Mike Braun said when he announced his state's request last spring. Quote, we're focused on root causes, transparent information, and real results, unquote. The 5 state waivers that take effect January 1st affect about 1.4 million people. Utah and West Virginia will ban the use of SNAP to buy soda and soft drinks, while Nebraska will prohibit soda and energy drinks. Indiana will target soft drinks and candy. In Iowa, which has the most restrictive rules to date, the SNAP limits affect taxable foods, including soda and candy, but also certain prepared foods. Quote, the items list does not provide enough specific information to prepare a SNAP participant to go to the grocery store, unquote. Platonino wrote in a blog post, quote, many additional items, including certain prepared foods, will also be disallowed, even though they are not clearly identified in the notice to households, unquote. Mark Craig, 47, of Des Moines, said he has been living in his car since October. He said the new waivers will make it more difficult to determine how to use the $298 in SNAP benefits he receives each month, while also increasing the stigma he feels at the cash register. Quote, they treat people that get food stamps like we're not people, unquote, Craig said. SNAP waivers enacted now and in the coming months will run for 2 years, with the option to extend them for an additional 3, according to the Agricultural Department. Each state is required to assess the impact of the changes. Health experts worry that the waivers ignore larger factors affecting the health of SNAP recipients, said Anand Parekh, Chief Policy Officer at the University of Michigan School of Public Health. Quote, this doesn't solve the 2 fundamental problems, which is healthy food in this country is not affordable and unhealthy food is cheap and ubiquitous, unquote, he said. And that's true. You know, people would love to eat healthy, okay, if they could afford it. But the prices of healthy food have gone up higher than the prices of the fucking regular food that people normally buy that's not healthy. You know, so when people are only getting $298 a month, which is nothing, okay? I mean, go figure out what you're spending each week on groceries. If you got a family of 4 or just a family of 1, okay? That's not going to get you through the month, okay? If there is a problem with SNAP, it's that they're not giving out enough money to people to get through the month for groceries. Now, they're bitching, oh, obesity, you know. Well, if you're only giving people pennies to go and buy food, what do you think they're going to get? They're going to go to Dollar Tree, they're going to go to places where the food is the cheapest, and it's not going to be healthy. Yeah, There's going to be an obesity problem, a diabetes problem. There's going to be problems like that. But if you turn around and then you tell them, no, you can't buy that stuff you've been getting at Dollar Tree and all that stuff to get by, then you know what's going to happen next? People are going to be demanding more money from SNAP, which states, a lot of states, cannot afford to do. So you see the problem here? Like I said, you know, you can't expect miracles from this system as it is. All right? I know several people that get SNAP benefits, and none of them get as much as this fella here that gets 280 something. Some of them barely get past $100 a month on SNAP. Okay? And yet, that's supposed to be enough? I mean, when somebody's writing out, you know, what this person's going to get, don't they wonder, how the hell is he going to make it with just $100 a month? You know what I'm saying? Okay, what do they think? They got income from someplace else? I mean, what the hell do these people think? Some of these people are elderly and they can't work, and they get SNAP. But then that's all they're getting. So how the fuck are they making it? They're just eating crap is what they're doing. They can't get by. You know? Some of these people, they have to go to places where they can get food free, you know, like charity groups and stuff like that. You know, Maine does a lot. I'm sure a lot of states do, not just Maine, but, you know, there's a lot of states that, you know, they got places they can get food for free, but, you know, it's usually not food that's really healthy. So, like I said, you know, it's one thing to bitch and put restrictions on SNAP, and I think a lot of this stuff, these restrictions and all, is motivated by people who are jealous of individuals who get money for SNAP. And I'm thinking, well, if you're jealous about somebody who is, you know, unable to work or elder and they're getting SNAP, and you're pissed off about the meager what they're getting from the state that doesn't get them through the month, then you must also be jealous about the numerous veterans out there getting benefits from the government, health care, you know, money each month. You must be jealous of them too, right? So you're a jealous person. There's something wrong with you, not these people getting money to help them along. You're the one with the problem, not them. When you can't even, in your mind, understand why they need this stuff, why they need this money, why they need this. If you can't wrap your head around that issue, you got a problem. You got no empathy, no understanding, no fucking cognitive understanding at all about what, because you probably never had to go through that, you know. And I think that's the problem that a lot of people have in this country when it comes to SNAP. Everybody thinks that SNAP is no good. They need to get rid of it. It's like, really? You know, in times like these, when people are losing their work, their jobs, okay, you know, from whatever reason, and the cost of food is steadily going up along with inflation on everything else, okay, you're going to sit there and turn around and bitch at people for not having money to buy things, okay, but having to get help from the government, the state, to help them get through the month. You're going to bitch. You're going to bitch. It's like bitching at the people in Ethiopia that were starving, you know, okay, why should the government help these people? Okay, you know, think about where you stand. Just follow your damn, if you can do this, follow your train of thought to its conclusion. Okay? If you can't do that, then you've got no reason to bitch and open your mouth about SNAP and people getting help from the government in whatever form. Okay? You got no reason to bitch. A lot of people, you know, who at one point in their life who could buy the food and all that stuff, fall on hard times, and all of a sudden, you know, financially they're ruined. Okay? But you, in your arrogance, whoever you are out there that does this, okay, your arrogance, you think these people should just fall on their face and end up homeless and die out on the street. Because, oh, why should we give money to them? Okay? You know, let that sink in. Because, frankly, we can't call ourselves a Christian nation if we're okay with putting people out on the fucking street and dying because we didn't want to spend a dime on maybe changing what is or what would be, okay? We didn't want to fix that. We didn't want to help these people. Their life meant nothing to us. We just don't want to see them. If you're homeless, you're garbage. Okay? That's your attitude, isn't it? That's why you walk by people that, you know, standing on a street corner or something, and they're, you know, wanting to hand, you know, some money or something. You just drive right on by, don't you? You don't even know this person. You don't know what the hell's going on with that person. Okay? But you're the same people that will stand behind somebody in line who's paying for something using a snap card, and you're like, oh, you goddamn cheap thief. You know, that's your immediate reaction. Okay? I got to tell you, that's very inhuman. Very inhuman. And it's not Christian at all. Okay, this has been a talk going on here for a few days. This is from Piper Hudspeth Blackburn. What a name. Entitled, More Artists Pull Out of Kennedy Center Shows Following Name Change. The Kennedy Center has been hit with a string of abrupt cancellations in the wake of its Board of Trustees adding President Trump's name to the landmark performing arts institution. Just days before they were set to perform twice on New Year's Eve, the jazz group The Cookers backed out of the gig. Quote, with deep regret, we must share that we are unable to perform as planned on New Year's Eve, unquote, the group said in a statement, explaining that the decision came together very quickly. Quote, we remain committed to playing music that reaches across divisions rather than deepening them, unquote. While the group did not provide details behind that decision, Billy Hart, the Cookers' drummer, told the New York Times that the center's name change evidently played a role in the cancellation, noting concerns about the potential for retaliation. New York City-based dance company Doug Verone and dancers also announced on Monday that they're canceling their performances set for April because, quote, with the latest act of Donald J. Trump renaming the center after himself, we can no longer permit ourselves nor ask our audiences to step inside this once great institution, unquote. Christy Lee, a folk singer songwriter who was slated to perform on January 14th, also canceled her show due to the name change. Quote, when American history starts getting treated like something you can ban, erase, rename, or rebrand for somebody else's ego, I can't stand on that stage and sleep right at night, unquote, she said last week in a social media post. CNN has reached out to the Kennedy Center for comment. The center's president, Richard Grinnell, dismissed the cancellations as, quote, a form of derangement syndrome, unquote, in a post on X Monday night. Quote, the artists who are now canceling shows were booked by the previous far-left leadership, unquote, he said. Quote, their actions prove that the previous team was more concerned about booking far-left political activists rather than artists willing to perform for everyone regardless of their political beliefs, unquote. The cancellations come after the Board of Trustees voted earlier this month to rename the center the Donald J. Trump and the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Art, unquote. Put his name first. Like, if you're going to rename it with your name, then you should put John F. Kennedy and, you know what I'm saying? It was his name on there for, Jesus Christ. Marking the president's latest effort to leave his mark on Washington, D.C. arts institution, the center updated its website with the new name hours later and installed signage that added Trump's name to the front of the building the next day. The change prompted the longtime host of the Kennedy Center's annual Christmas Eve jazz performance to cancel last week's concert. Quote, I've been performing at the Kennedy Center since the beginning of my career, and I was saddened to see this name change, unquote, musician Chuck Red told CNN last week. Grinnell criticized Red in a letter the center shared with CNN, calling the drummer a vibraphonist's decision to cancel, quote, classic intolerance and very costly to a nonprofit arts institution, unquote. Grinnell also faulted Red for the financial fallout of the cancellation and said the center will seek $1 million in damages. good luck with that. Before the renaming, Trump's aggressive push to reshape the Kennedy Center had already prompted some artists to back away from the venue. After Trump's hand-picked board elected him chair in February, artists including Issa Rae, Renee Fleming, Shonda Rhimes, and Ben Folds resigned from their leadership roles or canceled events at the space. And Jeffrey Seller, producer of the hit musical Hamilton, canceled the show's planned run earlier this year. Since taking over, the president has hosted the Kennedy Center Honors earlier this month and touted the restoration of the exterior marble, the interior chairs, and fully renovated stages, which he says will be completed within a year. Before boards' vote to rename the Performing Arts Center after him, Trump frequently joked about calling it the Trump Kennedy Center. The change has raised legal concerns as to whether the board has the authority to rename the arts institution, which Congress designated in 1964 as a memorial to President John F. Kennedy following his assassination. Representative Joyce Beatty, an Ohio Democrat and ex officio trustee of the board, sued the president in federal court to challenge the name change, said that she was muted on Zoom during the board meeting when she tried to speak up in objection to the vote, and argued in the lawsuit that the vote and the addition of Trump's name to the physical building the day after were, quote, scenes more reminiscent of authoritarian regimes than the American Republic, unquote. The addition of Trump's name has also been met with fierce backlash from the Kennedy family. Quote, the Kennedy Center is a living memorial to a fallen president and named for President Kennedy by federal law, unquote. Joe Kennedy III, a former congressman and the great-nephew of the late president, said on X, quote, it can no sooner be renamed than can someone rename the Lincoln Memorial, no matter what anyone says, unquote. Yeah, and I wonder what RFK Jr.'s got to say about it. Okay, notice he's been very quiet about this whole thing while his family is stewing, you know, in the background. You know, I mean, look, these people have every right to make their opinions known about this center here and the renaming of it, okay? If they don't want to perform there, you can't drag them into that place and make them perform, okay? Would you rather they show up and not perform, just stand there on the stage and just not sing or do a damn thing and protest? Okay, is that what you would rather have? Or would you rather they not come there at all? Because you know, the fact is, these people are worried that if they do go to this thing and perform, it would reflect badly on them. Because so many people are upset with what Trump is trying to do here, and they don't want anybody going there to make money in that regard. Okay, they just don't want these people there. They're worried that, you know, because the political situation in this country is so toxic, okay, that if they go in there, you know, they could all of a sudden get, you know, harassed and everything, you know, people that they're so pissed off, you know, and I don't blame them. I don't fucking blame them. Why? I wouldn't want to go there either, you know, and perform in a building that Trump is put his big fat name on, okay? I mean, the only reason, you know, he's doing this is only for his own ego. He has to connect his name to John F. Kennedy like he is of this equal caliber as the former president was. Okay, do you really think he's as good as JFK was? Do you really think he deserves to have his name next to John F. Kennedy? I'm sorry, but only a total fucking asshole would try and do something like that, okay? You know, think about it. It'd be like me putting my name next to Lincoln's name at the Lincoln Memorial. Who the hell am I? What the fuck did I do that I would deserve that honor? Nothing. And that's really what it is, isn't it? It's honor that gets you into these, gets your name recognized. When you have no honor, when you are honorless, okay, you don't deserve to be recognized for a goddamn thing. Instead, you become infamous. And that's what Trump is going to be. He's not going to be famous for the things that he does. He's going to only be remembered in infamy. Okay? The same way we think of Pearl Harbor. That's the way he's going to be remembered. That's the only way his name is ever going to be in the history books. Okay? as a disaster. Because nothing good has come out of this fucking guy the first time he was president and this year here already in his second time as president. Okay? Nothing. And this is a guy that's trying to steal honor for himself because his fucking ego can't let him die without having something in this world with his fucking name on it. And that right there is a sign of a narcissist if I ever saw one. He's deranged. He's a criminal. He's deranged. Okay? He didn't even earn the right to sit in the White House. I don't care that he won votes and he got this. No. You see, he couldn't even come to the plate as a player because he didn't qualify. He's a criminal, a rapist. He incited a riot against his own government. Okay? Those things would disqualify anybody. And if any Republican out there wants to argue with me about that, okay, let me point out to you that if Donald Trump was a Democrat and had done all these things, you people would have, okay, you know what I'm saying? You guys would have been all fucking hopping mad about it, and you'd have stopped that fucking election from happening. I know it, you know it, okay? Don't try and tell me that you wouldn't do that. I know how these people are. I know how MAGA is, okay? But being as it is, Trump's Republican in name only, okay? I don't know what the hell he really thinks of himself as politically, honestly. I really don't. Okay? I think he's most of the time taking his cues from the Heritage Foundation. So I guess if he's listening to them, that kind of makes him Republican. But, you know, he used to be Democrat at one time. At least that's what he was, you know, pretending to be, I guess. But right now, he ain't. So, like I said, I don't know how he leans politically, but he's certainly not on the side of the country. And if you're not on the side of the country, you can't be Republican or Democrat. Okay? You can't. He's in this for himself. He's a man, his party of his own, okay? He doesn't even include himself in the day-to-day goings of the American people. He doesn't connect with them. He can't understand them. He doesn't know them. To him, they're numbers on a fucking sheet of paper, okay? It's all a numbers game with him. He doesn't care. It's the same way he looked when he did his casinos at the people that were going in gambling, where it's just money coming into them. These are people who were bringing in cash. That's all that mattered to him. All right? And so that attitude, after so many years of doing these things, these casinos and stuff, and, you know, doing that for so long, that's the way he looks at the whole country. We're just people with money, okay? And how can I get that dollar off of them? Oh, I'll just make this Bible and put my name on it, and they'll buy that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? This is a guy who's really got it in to make himself something he's not. And he tries so hard, it's laughable, the things that he does. You know, it really is laughable. But yeah, I mean, like I said, this is you know, the Kennedy Center thing. I mean, I can't blame anybody for backing out of this thing now, okay? And if he thinks they can sue some of these people here for loss of money, well, first you have to prove that they were going to make money. Okay, how can you put a price tag on something that you didn't get? You know, they're going to sue for $1 million. Well, how do you figure that? Was it going to make $1 million if they've performed? How do you know? Did you think anybody was going to show up for this concert or performance? I mean, there could be a whole bunch of people that ain't going to show up for this thing, not just the performers, but the audience too. How do you know? You put, like I said, $1 million. How do you fucking know you're going to make $1 million off of that? So, like I said, good luck trying to win that case. Okay, I suppose it's all going to depend on who the judge is going to be listening to it, but I can't see how they got a case there to go and sue anybody. You know, that would be something you would decide after an event, okay, because then you would have a price. You would know how much money, okay, but before an event, hey, if they want to cancel because of, a death in the family or a cold or something, you can't sue people for doing that, okay? It doesn't make any sense. Well, we'll see what happens, but like I said, like when I read it, good luck to Trump there and them. And it's like, yeah, it'll be a very interesting fight to watch them try to sue these people for not performing. And like I said, they got every right not to perform if they don't want to be there. Okay? People don't show up to events all the time in this country. They don't get sued for loss of profit because they didn't show, you know. So anyway, that's it for today. So I hope everybody has a great New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. I don't know when I'll be doing another video, but subscribe, comment, and share. Keep your ears open for health-related issues. And please try to enjoy the festivities. And if you're going to be drinking, please don't be driving. Okay? We really should pay closer attention to why we don't drink and drive, okay? Because the TV tube is filled with incidents of people doing that and getting in deep, 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 deep trouble, all right? All right, take care. I'll talk to you later. Bye.